In this video, I'm going to cover how much money you can make driving for Lyft. Guys, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how much money you can actually make driving for Lyft. So, the answer to this has more than one factor, and the biggest factor is how bad do you want it and how willing are you to learn. So, I have another video that I'll put a link to right now that will show you, it talks a little bit about when to drive, when the best times are to drive. Okay, so I'm actually going to be showing some screenshots of when I drive and what I get paid and how that all works, so you guys can see real proof of what sort of money I make as a Lyft driver. So I started out doing it part-time, maybe just like 20 hours a week or something like that when I had a day job. And then I quit doing that and I just started driving Lyft full-time, and I've been driving Lyft for about 4 months now. So to start off, I had a bonus initially, which was $500, and you can get a bonus just like that from me by clicking the link below if you start driving Lyft. This screenshot shows the money that I was making when I first started driving with Lyft. The bonus is in here. Sorry I don't have the hours documented, but this is some of the money I made, and you can see how how quick it is and what time frame. And so that bonus money, I had to get approved and do 100 rides within the first 30 days to qualify for that $500. So that was pretty nice because my rides, they can average out, however much per ride. And after you do about 100 rides, for me, I think I cleared well over about $1,100, $1,000 when I got that actual bonus when I qualified for it. So that's the first way. If you start out doing Lyft, you could easily part-time with a job now, hit that bonus, get that bonus money, and then also the money that you'll accrue along the way. You can easily get that in 30 days. It's not hard at all. If you're even remotely worried about it, don't be. It's really easy. Anyhow, so with Lyft, there's two forms of income that you can get. So you get the you get the mileage rate and the minute rate. Okay, that I'll put a link to that below. Okay, and then you also get tips. So tips are something that it just kind of depends. Okay, you're not guaranteed tips, obviously. They just come along. This is a cash out I did, and as you can see, the tips are like 76 bucks, which almost covers the $97 in Lyft fees. Yeah, it's a lot, but anyhow, it really helps. Okay, if you're driving for Uber, don't. There's very few cities that I would drive Uber in. There are some that are worth it, but overall, as a company, Uber is not worth it to drive for. Lyft is the bee's knees. Drive for Lyft. Anyhow, you can get tips, and a lot of times my tips are more than my Lyft fees, and they help add so much value to my income that it is completely insane. I really, really like that Lyft has tips. It really helps out. And sometimes, people will try to give you cash, and, there's really no big deal with that. You never want to accept cash in place of a Lyft ride, like, having someone get in the car and then cancel the ride and take them somewhere for cash. But sometimes people will, give you like $1 or $2, something like that, and there's really no issue with taking that. But people tip through the app. That's the primary way you do it. Also, obviously, I would never ask for tips. I wouldn't suggest asking for tips, but you will get them. In an average week, doing about 40 hours or something like that, I can range well into $100 in tips. Okay, so anyhow, when I was doing it part-time, I was working just on the weekends and hitting a lot of the prime time that comes from when the bars close and things like that, around those times, peak times, okay? I would easily be able to clear like $250 to $400 in a weekend, and so that would be like 20 hours. I'd be able to clear that sort of money just here in Lexington, Kentucky, where I live right outside of Lexington. I drive in Lexington. It was really no problem to hit that much money. So that's how I started out, and then I started to realize, okay, well, I could do this, during the day, during the week, and it just eventually started making more sense to do this instead of my day job where I was making $11 an hour. Nothing big, but anyhow, I quit that and I started driving for Lyft. So um, when I talked about how you have to be willing to learn, if you've never been an independent contractor before, you will have to do your own taxes and you will have to measure out your expenses and keep track of your expenses, which there are some really good apps for, and I will put a link in the description for one of the best apps to keep track of your miles so that you have accurate mileages when you are doing your taxes and writing things off. But when it's all said and done, I could easily make at least $15, $12 an hour doing like a 40-hour a week of Lyft, and that would be, in my opinion, the way I do things. Everything said and done, writing everything off. That's all expenses and everything. Bottom line. Okay. So when you're driving, there's obviously times where you're gonna look at your summary, okay, like of the day or the week, and you'll be able to see that clearly that you're coming out of like $20, $30 an hour. A lot of times when I drive the the bars at night, it's really no problem to see that you've been driving for like 3 hours or so and see that you've already made $100. It's not a big deal. I mean, sometimes I'll end up taking people home, on the other side of town, and their fare is just outrageous. So, and obviously some nights are better than others, some days are better than others, and if there's an event, there's obviously a lot more money to be made. But when you're going through the normal pace of just like everyday stuff, like let's just say I'm out like on a Wednesday and there's nothing going on, I can still easily make like $10 an hour. That's like before fees and everything like that. The lowest I've ever made is like it was a really crummy day that was like $8 an hour. But with that being said, Lyft does this really cool thing a lot of times. They do it on like New Year's, they did it on St. Patrick's Day, they've done it just this past weekend in Lexington. They had like a bunch of horse events, and they had just a bunch of stuff going on, graduation for the university and some other things. And what they did is this thing called guaranteed hourly rates. So what you would do is they'll send you an email about it, and they'll be like, hey, we have guaranteed hourly rates for this week. And you'll see what days and what times those are for. Like, for instance, I think last Friday it was from like 3 to 8, and then from like going on to like 3 a.m. was like $20, $25, and $30 an hour at like different times. So what that meant was, like, if I was driving and I met the requirements, which is you just have to be online for the whole hour, or like 90% of the hour. So you could like take a 5-minute break or something like that if you wanted to turn the app off. And then you had to take 2 rides, okay? You had to take 2 rides during that hour to qualify for the hourly minimum. So that's really no problem. But that day, the cool thing was that it was terrible weather. It was like this on St. Patrick's Day too. So 2 of the times that I've gotten into guaranteed hourlies, the weather has just been dreadful and no one wanted to go out, but I was still making $20, $30, $35 an hour, no problem. I have a friend in Nashville who drives, and he makes sometimes the guaranteed hourlies down there like $50, $45. So it just depends on what city you're in, but here in Lexington I've never really seen above 35 on a guaranteed hourly. But it's awesome because I sat in my car and I just learn Russian on my phone when I'm not driving, and sit there and make $20, $30 an hour. And at that point in time, you're not spending anything in gas. You're just sitting there, and you just have to be patient. And you just take the rides that come in and just go like that. Take a nap, whatever you want to do. Just wait until the ride comes in, go get it. So that is a really good way to make money, because last week I cleared like $550 or something like that, doing about 40 hours, but then I got money reimbursed the next Tuesday for the guaranteed hourlies, and that was like an extra $70. So that was really good because they catch you in the difference. So like if you only made $5 that hour, they'll give you the extra 20 if the guaranteed hourly was 25. So this isn't something that happens every week, but when it does happen,
It's really awesome. They'll send you an email and they will say, hey, do you want to take advantage of this? And here's some of the rates. You see the hourly requirements at the bottom. That's like 2 rides per hour, 50 minutes out of the hour, and you have to have a 90% acceptance rate. So you can't, you have to have 90% acceptance rate. You have to accept 90% of the rides.
They guarantee you that you will at least make that. Now, if you make over, they don't take that. You get as much as you want. If you made $100 in that hour, then awesome. That is really great. They won't take anything of that. You just, you've made past their threshold, and that's it. In some events, you definitely can make that. There's times where there's like events that Lyft doesn't even take out the guaranteed hourlies, and you easily make types of money like that. You make $60, $70 an hour. It's crazy. Just running around during an event, people are accepting fares that are pretty high. They don't care, and they're spending the money. You're taking them home. You're taking them to the event or whatever, and you're making money. So all in all, you need to keep track of your gas. I end up spending a fair amount of gas every week. Maybe somewhere between like $60, so I do have to account for that. You obviously have your insurance in your car. These are all things you can write off. You can write off your equipment, like in the other video that I have, where I covered buying the black ice air fresheners, which I highly recommend, and the phone mounts. Your phone bill is also write-off worthy. Your charger cord, cleanings. Anything you do to clean your car, just spend money on good upkeep, and you can write all that off as well, which will also get you more money in tips. I'm going to do a video about tips as well. Check that out. It will give you some insight on how I've learned how to make crazy tips that generally cover all of my Lyft fees. So it's almost like I don't have any fees at all. And if you have a power driver bonus, then you make even more money. Okay, so all that said, you won't make millions driving for Lyft, but it is a really, really good job. It is a really good way to make money on the side, and you can make a decent living full time. I am not worried about anything right now. I live right here, just outside of Lexington. This is my house right here that I rent. Don't own it yet. A little bit too young for that. I drive a 2009 Honda Accord. It's got leather. It's a perfectly nice car, good car. I am putting a little bit of depreciation on it, but that's what you do. And I'm only doing this for a little while because eventually I'm going to the Air Force here in about 2 months. So anyhow, it's really, really good money on the side or full time. So I would really encourage you to check it out. You obviously do want to position yourself in places where people are requesting rides, and you do want to be online as much as possible, and sometimes are a little bit better than others. So if you only drive for like 3 hours, let's say like from 5 to 7, on Tuesdays or something like that, every other Tuesday, you're not going to be making a lot. You might, clear a couple, you're not going to make much. If you get out there on Friday and Saturday, when things are really busy, obviously things can be busy during the week as well. There's really no bad time to drive Lyft, but you do have to put in the time, and you do have to have a little bit of hustle, and you won't have anybody except for you telling you, how, to stay on and to stay awake and hustle. And stay out there and keep accepting rides, because if it slows down for a little bit and you decide to give up and go home, guess what? You don't make anything else. So that's what it is. But all in all, I'm going to post some screenshots here along the way. You should have been seeing them in this video that will show some of the earnings that I've had, and give you the proof of like the time frames that these have been earned in. It's definitely really good money, and you will get that referral bonus if you click on the link below that has my name on it, especially if you are driving here in Lexington. So appreciate you watching this video. Subscribe and like this video, and see you out on the road.